News First at 9.
As India celebrated its 67th Independence Day today, it looked to celebrate some of its achievements, but also looked at some of its economic and social challenges.
Now, addressing the nation from the Red Fort, Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh noted that relations with Pakistan can only improve when Pakistan checks anti-India activities on its soil.
India gained its independence from the colonial British rule on the 15th of August 1947, ending more than 200 years of rule. India marked its Independence Day today with much pomp and ceremony before the historic Red Fort. After celebrations commenced, the Indian Prime Minister addressed the nation.
We have also strived for friendship with our neighbouring countries. It is essential that they prevent the use of their territory and territory under their control for any anti-India activity. In the recent months, there has been much discussion on the fact that last year our growth rate came down to 5%. This is indeed true, and we are trying out the best remedy to rectify this situation. However, it is not only our country that is facing economic difficulties. The last year has been difficult for the world economy as a whole. We have recently issued an ordinance towards a food security law. The food security bill is now before Parliament, and we hope it will be passed shortly. The law will benefit 75% of our rural population and half of our urban population.
Military drills were held in New Delhi by the Indian forces to commemorate the 67th independence of India. Meanwhile, here in Colombo, an event to mark the special occasion was held at the Indian High Commissioner's office. The event took place under the auspices of Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Y.K. Singer.
We are indeed privileged to be in a country with amongst the people with whom we enjoy millennia of friendship, of connectivity, of empathy and of affection. I have been here barely 2 months, not even 2 months, but I have felt the warmth and the affection and the love of the people of this great country of Sri Lanka.
Meanwhile, another event to mark Indians' independence from colonial rule was held in Jaffna. The event was organised by the Consulate General Office to India in Jaffna and was held under the auspices of the Consulate General of India in Jaffna. A group including the Consulate General Office staff and persons engaged in Indian-funded projects in Jaffna, Vaunia and Manar districts also attended the event.
Now, according to the Indo-Asian News Service, Jayalalitha Jayaram, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, has expressed hope that India will soon regain its rights over the Kachativu Island.
Kachativu Island officially became part of Sri Lanka in 1974.
Now, during an event to mark the Indian Independence Day at the Tamil Nadu State Secretariat, Jayalalitha Jayaram had said, quote, "I have faith in re-establishing our rights in Kachativu," unquote.
This year, the Tamil Nadu State Assembly passed a resolution urging the central government of India to revoke the Kachativu Transfer Agreement.
Now, during her Independence Day speech, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu was highly critical of the central government and its economic policies. And tonight on our segment Words of Wisdom, we look at the words of Indian independence hero Mahatma Gandhi.
Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. Mahatma Gandhi.
Brought to you by
Lanka Bell introduces Bell Enterprise Solutions technology. Get the best by your side.
Now, the Lanka Private Bus Owners Association says that it will not go back on its decision to impose a 10% fare hike come the 1st of September. Now, however, on Friday, the National Transport Commission noted that if any Private Bus Operators Association attempts to impose a fare hike on the 1st of September, the NTC would take steps to annul the permits of operators from those associations.
The National Transport Commission does not have the power to annul anyone's permits, especially the permits of interprovincial services. It is a complete falsehood that we received belief. They said the log sheet charges had been reduced, but this makes no difference. It will not do to give concession of 1,000 to 1,500 rupees on a loss of 30 to 40,000 rupees. We will not go for discussions. If they want to work against us, they can work against us. They can take us to courts. We have no problem.
Now, earlier tonight we reported that members of the Free Media Movement met representatives of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission to discuss problems that were faced by journalists on the 1st of August in Valivaria. Now, incidentally, the report compiled by the Army on the incident in Valivaria recently will be handed over to the Army Commander on the 21st of this month. Now, just a reminder that the report was originally to be submitted to the Army Commander tomorrow. However, speaking to News First, the military spokesperson Ruwan Wanigasuriya said that the report will now be submitted on the 21st of August. The committee is headed by Major General Jagat Dias. Now, during the Cabinet Media briefing in Colombo today, journalists also informed the Cabinet Media spokesperson, Minister Kehile Ramakwella, on the ordeal that journalists had to face in Valivaria on the 1st of August.
The army ill-treated the journalists. A group of journalists held discussions with one of the ministers in this regard and had taken a decision. Advice was sought from me as well. Until the report is out, we cannot take a decision.
Over 400 people have been killed in Egypt's capital of Cairo and other major cities after a month of state of emergency was announced by the local government. Security forces have defied international pleas to keep the peace in the country after firing on the people and killing scopes of people sweeping over 2 Morsi's border camps.
Egypt's army-backed interim prime minister defended the government's decision yesterday to crush the camps of supporters for deposed President Mohamed Morsi, saying that the authorities had little choice but to act.
When freedom of expression becomes terrorizing the public, carrying arms, blocking roads, and violating public property, it is not freedom of expression. It becomes a violation of the state and the people. For the government to continue to operate, it has to be respected. That's why we had to take the stand and say this cannot continue. It should be stopped.
Beblawi said the state of emergency would be for the shortest period possible, adding that the government was committed to an army-backed roadmap to restore democracy. Thousands of Muslim Brotherhood supporters had been camped out in 2 major cities in Cairo since before President Morsi was top. The Muslim Brotherhood says that snipers fired on the square from surrounding buildings, while helicopters hovered overhead and armoured bulldozers ploughed over the protesters' makeshift defences. Masked police tore down tents and set them ablaze. Security forces later used force and took control of Nada Square, the smaller of the 2 sit-ins, using tear gas and bird shots. There are conflicting reports on the casualties from the clashes. According to the statement by the Ministry of Health earlier in the day, at least 343 people, including 43 policemen, were killed, while over 2,000 were injured. Now, according to the Muslim Brotherhood's spokesman's Twitter account, over 1,000 people have been killed, while other sources put the number of dead between 500 and 800. However, News First cannot independently verify this report. Egypt has been swept by horrific street violence, showers of gunfire, tear gas and blazing fires as relentless clashes have shaken cities in government attempts to break up the demonstrations. According to reports, among the dead was the 17-year-old teenage daughter of one of the senior Brotherhood officials. Supporters of the deposed President Mohamed Morsi torched police stations amid the ruthless government suppression. Several journalists have also been killed in the protests and clashes yesterday. Meanwhile, protesters toppled off an armoured security truck off a bridge. Global powers have condemned the violence that broke out in the past 48 hours in Egypt.
And the final outcome of that revolution is not yet decided. It will be shaped in the hours ahead, in the days ahead. It will be shaped by the decisions which all of Egypt's political leaders make now and in these days ahead.
We don't support this violence. We condemn it completely. It's not going to solve the problems.
I feel very apprehensive about the future of Egypt. There are a lot of Egyptians in Australia of various faiths. We understand their concern about what's happening in the country they've come from.
News First contacted the Sri Lanka ambassador to Egypt for details on the tumultuous situation in the Arab nation.
The current violence in Cairo confines to two main areas in the city. One place is called Nasser City, other place near the Cairo University. Now we have advised our Sri Lankans nationals to be away. So our Sri Lankans in Cairo at the moment is very safe.
With the current unrest spinning out of control, where is Egypt heading to? Stay with News First as we bring you the latest coverage on Egypt. I'm Alexander Holmes, reporting with Zulfik Farzan. This is News First.
That was a joint report filed by News First's Alexander Holmes and Zulfik Farzan. The News First International Desk, of course, has been closely monitoring the developments in Egypt ever since the ouster of President Mohamed Morsi earlier in July. Moving on to more local news, an individual engaged in a protest in Anuradhapura today, demanding that he be given proper employment in accordance with an appointment letter that had been presented to him.
A driver attached to the North Central Province Ministry of Health engaged in this demonstration atop the Provincial Health Director's office. The protester said that he passed the examination that was held for an ambulance driver's position that was vacant at the Nochiagam Hospital. He charges that despite receiving an appointment letter, a different individual had been given the appointment. Because of the unnecessary influences, because of the flaws of certain heads of institutions, the secretary at the governor's office has sent a letter citing that certain persons cannot place their signature on the letters. Because of the continuing injustice, I got onto the roof of the building. The Health Department Drivers Association of the North Central Province commenced a strike from 4 o'clock this evening in support of the protest. All ambulance services in the Anuradhapura district have stopped operations since 4 o'clock this evening. All the drivers have been informed of this. We will continue the struggle until the demands are met. When we contacted the Divisional Health Services Director, Dr. Palita Bandara, he said that steps are being taken to resolve the matter. Meanwhile, an individual climbed onto a tree opposite the Mathura Divisional Office of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission. He charges that he has no land or house to live in. Later, the officers at the divisional office and local residents took measures to bring the protester back to ground. The protester was identified as 43-year-old I.N. Indika Vasantha, a father of one. I have no place to live in at present. I was on the road for the past few days. I made a request to the divisional secretariat and I even met with ministers. No one helped me. Am I to live on the road with my child? This individual also possesses a number of letters that he had addressed to the respective authorities requesting a plot of land or a house to live in. The coordinator of the Mathura Divisional Centre of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission, DMR Disanayaka, said that the respective individual had lodged a complaint with the SLHRC on the 1st of July. I have informed the Assistant Divisional Secretary of Mathura regarding this, to look into the grievances of this person and provide a solution to it. I have also informed the officers of the Mulatiana Divisional Secretariat. Later, the office of the SLHRC directed this individual to the Mathura District Secretariat. The Assistant Matale Divisional Secretary addressed a letter to the Mulatiana Divisional Secretary on behalf of the District Secretary to give this individual priority when providing state lands.